Now we'll have the request for the Dhamma Desana. Brahma Chaloka Dipati Sahampati Katanjali Anadivaran Ayachata Santita Sata Parajakajatika Bese Tudamang Anukampimang Pajang.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So I'm going to give a reading. I'll come up closer to try to maximize my audibility. And this is a sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, the Numerical Discourses, the Book of the Tens. And this is number 58. It's one of these suttas where the Buddha is teaching the bhikkhus about how to respond to particular questions. And these are a series of questions that these wanderers of other sects have asked the monks, who probably didn't know what the answers were. And the Buddha says, well, if they ask you this, and the various questions he asks them, and they all are, what are things rooted in? How do they come into being? How do phenomena arise in the mind? Where do they come from? Why do things come up in the mind? Where from? Why? What do they actually crystallize around and get going on? What is it that leads them? And how do you get some perspective on them? How do you get to supervise these phenomena that arise in the mind? What's their fundamental nature, their core quality, and where do they terminate and come to fruition? And so the Buddha said, well, if they ask you this, you should answer in this way. He says, friends, all things, all dhammas, the word is dhammas, which really means something like mental phenomena or qualities, are rooted in desire. Chanda is the word. It means motivation, interest. There's a certain... they come into being through attention. That is, something, attracts and something attends. There's attention. That attention means that which was potential becomes more actual. Yeah. And you get sort of ignition point when you really you've got a certain motivation and something catches the mind's eye and it attends to it. As we attend, give attention to a thought or a memory or a hope or anticipation, plan, whatever, contact, something enters. It's this moment, passa. Passa means something presses, it creates an impression. Touched. And what is touched? Citta. Heart is touched. Could be agreeable or disagreeable. but it always feels something will be there. And so he says, well, they originate in contact, they converge. Everything comes down to, as it enters the mind, it comes together, it feels as a feeling. And that is where the mind and whatever the object is converge. That is, at that particular moment when there's a feeling around an experience, the mind converges in that. It comes together in that. Pleasant or unpleasant feeling. As we can see, as we can witness, things when they touch us, there's that moment agreeable when we really get it. Oh, that's that. Oh. And this process, contact, associated with what's called perception, you get it, you understand, you cognize it. Oh, that's that. And it's associated with feeling. So with contact, perception and feeling arise. You get it, and there's a feeling. Oh, it's could be mildly agreeable, so deep, really wonderfully agreeable, slightly disagreeable, or undetermined as yet. So we haven't really got down to it yet. We're still. This is feeling. Converge on feeling. They're headed by concentration. Well, actually, the word here is samadhi. And again, it helps us perhaps to more thoroughly understand what this word samadhi refers to, because I don't think concentration is always such a good translation for it. It means as something is felt, the mind merges into that which is felt. It merges into it, it becomes it. For that moment when we get something, when it touches us, the mind is merged, unified with that experience. And this is by no means sama samadhi. It's not necessarily skillful right concentration. It's the ordinary factor of whatever is felt, the mind is grabbed by and blends into and merges with. Could be passion, it could be difficult, unpleasant feeling, it could be all kinds of things, but it's the mind at that time is united with that experience. And this can be, of course, can be ecstatic, but it can also be deeply horrible, miserable, drives people crazy, unpleasant mental feeling. Mindfulness exercises authority over them. Wisdom is their supervisor. Liberation is their core. They culminate in the deathless and they terminate in Nibbana. All things are rooted in desire, in chanda. They come into being through attention, manasikara. They originate, they rise up with contact. They converge, they gather, they touch the mind, the heart with feeling. You don't feel it, you haven't got it yet. They're headed by concentration as feeling enters the mind, the heart, the mind, is held by that and merges with that. Mindfulness exercises authority over them. There's that possibility of stepping out, witnessing. This is a feeling. This is a feeling. It's like this. So without aversion to the feeling or trying to feel something else or why I'm feeling this way or who made me feel this way. This is a feeling. That's the statement of mindfulness. It stops the circulation of proliferating thoughts. And that's very significant, because it's the proliferation, this circulating of thoughts and emotions that means that feeling is not allowed to pass. It keeps getting recycled through this process of feeling, perception, and activation. Emotion, we could say. Feeling, that's the direct quality of pleasure or displeasure. Perception, felt meaning. They don't like me, I can't do this. Oh, it's wonderful. Oh, that's great. You know, this interpretation. I'm a success, I'm a failure. I don't know what to do, I'm confused. I'm a silly person. Oh, I'm doing really well. You know, that's perception. And in the activation, we start getting stirred up by that. And either it's pleasant, we get excited and want more. If it's unpleasant, we get desperate and really try to find a way out of it. And we start fighting, struggling. Either way, this agitation of the sankhara means that stirs the mind up. The mind loses its stability and just keeps going into the very stirring itself, generates more feeling, which brings more dhammas into it, as you can see, as you recognize. You know, when something troublesome occurs, we get the unpleasant feeling, the perception, I've done wrong, I'm at fault, I made a mistake, I can't do this. And then the sankharas start up. Oh, what should I do? What shouldn't I do? And they keep activating, and we still haven't, we're still keeping the basic quality of disagreeable contact going and circulating around it with more and more proliferating thoughts. So this process doesn't take us out, it takes us in. And this causes people extreme distress, proliferation, extreme distress, obsession, breakdowns, and or distractions. Get me out of it, give me something to drink, shoot somebody, anything, get me out of this turmoil. Yeah. And the mind is seized and merged in that to the point when there's a complete identification with that experience. Now, of course, the main Dhamma teaching here is that rather than why am I, how can I, what do I do to get out of this, what should I be, what shouldn't I be, will I ever, maybe I won't, and so forth. Mindfulness. This is the turmoil, this is the distress, this is the anxiety, what's it, and then bringing with that the inquiry, Dhamma Vijaya. What's going, where's the feeling in this, the perception in this? Just holding it steadily arrests the turmoil of sankharas. It arrests it. Mindfulness is called the flood stopper. Wisdom is the supervisor. We want, having arrested the turmoil, one looks into that, wisely looking into it. And through that process, see, this is the, rather than this is me, I'm this, merged in this. No, this is the agitation. This is the felt meaning, the perception. You know, I'm not, I am, you know, and this is the feeling, disagreeable feeling. Yes. There's nobody in that. This is just the mind spinning around feeling, around a perception. And all mental feeling is born of perception, that is an interpretation. Say we see something, oh, that's beautiful, pleasure. Now, the mind says it's beautiful. So therefore, the feeling is created by the mind, not by the object. The sound is beautiful, attractive. The smell, the fragrance, the thought is wonderful, brilliant, delightful. The process of thinking has taken me to some lovely, exciting places where things seem so clear. I love that experience. So it gets with this perceptions, interpretations, this you can generate feeling, pleasant feeling, and it's attractive. So there's the motivation, the desire, the chanda is aimed at generating pleasant feeling. And that's the basic motivation. And therefore, how can that happen? Attention is looking for that. That. Yeah. And therefore, contact is made, and therefore feeling. But as we all recognize, it doesn't go very far, because you have to keep generating more of it, doing something to generate more of it. So, and then at some point, you can't generate any more out of it. It declines, the pleasant feeling changes, either just because one's losing interest in it, or because something interrupts one's attention. You're having a good time, and I've got to go and do this now. Or I was really having a great talk with him or her, and then we got into this area where we were finding ourselves in conflict. Where did that happen? Or I was driving along enjoying myself, and then suddenly this memory of where I should be. Oh dear, I've forgotten. I'm late. Oh my goodness, I should have done this. So that nice pleasant daydream is suddenly interrupted by another thought comes up, or where we should be, or what we're supposed to be doing now, we've forgotten about. So decline of pleasant feeling is disagreeable. And it has to decline sooner or later and go into the disagreeable. And then if motivation is towards agreeable feeling, then you've got to struggle around to get some more agreeable feeling going somewhere else. So this whole process keeps moving around, and this unsatisfactory nature. So there's this, and then the merging brings around this becoming. All mental feeling is aimed at becoming. What does that mean? It means that all mental feelings aimed at me being filled with that agreeable, pleasant feeling. I am saturated in it. I am nicely, pleasantly full of that agreeable quality. That's what I want. I want to become that pleasant feeling. I want to become a happy person. If I get enough pleasant feeling, I'll be a happy person. I'll be a comfortable, assured, confident, balanced person. If I get enough of that good stuff. And it could be decent, nothing nasty, just doing a few good things, helping here, helping there, reading a book, listening to something, talking. Just keep the good enough, nice, that's what I want to be. Or becoming, and but becoming doesn't work, as we noticed, because something comes along that either interrupts the flow of becoming, something else happens that interrupts it, or of course that the nature of becoming is it never actually stabilizes. So I was becoming quite happy by doing this, and now I want to do this, and then do this, and then not have that experience happen. You're trying to keep something solid, which isn't actually solid. It's essentially continually dynamic and flowing. But all mental feelings aim to becoming. Because it creates a certain stability or apparent stability. It's not actually stable, it feels stable because for that time our mind is filled with it. But it's a bad habit because, of course, when unpleasant feeling happens, then we become that. And it's, and if all we know to do is become something based upon a feeling, your unpleasant feeling, I want to become some pleasant feeling. I want to get rid of this unpleasant feeling. I want to become agreeable again. And then the struggle comes. We have to distract ourselves or suppress things, or we can't become the pleasant feeling. And therefore we start feeling bad about ourselves, or blaming ourselves, or blaming others, or blaming life, or blaming what happened 5 years ago for giving me this unpleasant feeling. So it goes. There's no way out, through that. But this is where, of course, with mindfulness, just check stability. You see how mindfulness based upon body. Now, this is the way out of the mind. Why this first foundation of mindfulness is always there right at the beginning. Is wait a minute, your body, feel the agitation in your body, and you can recognize when you feel agitation in your body, you feel the nervous system cranking up. Oh yeah, there's also the knees and the feet, back. That's not agitated. It's all around here is agitated, and there's bits are not agitated. And that just gives you, without fighting the feeling, I'm finding a reference to the feeling, which is the second frame of reference, the second establishment of mindfulness. Using this, now I can witness feeling rather than just dive into it. So, as you know, if you're practicing and you have physical pain, then you can see immediately the mind focuses on that pain. It goes into it. It's like the pain attracts the mind. It may be in a pretty small part of your body, like maybe one leg, or not even a whole leg, but just, the knee. But all parts of your body disappear and the mind is drawn towards the feeling because it's interested in feeling. It's become habituated to move towards feeling. It's attracted towards feeling. Its attention is moored on feeling. It converges on feeling. It merges with feeling. And then it fights with it if it's unpleasant. So we say, okay, strategy here is just, can you widen, if you've got pain in your knee, can you come up to be aware of your shoulder and your head and your foot? Oh, actually the painful bit is only occupying a percentage of the whole field of my body. It's still not agreeable, but now it's no longer so intense because my mind is not going into it and fighting with it. Therefore, as it said, one feels the bodily dart, unpleasant feeling, the mind has got some relief. And this is even more significant with mental feeling because mental feeling is only generated through favoring or opposing. That is, we favor a particular idea or memory, or we oppose it. We favor a particular plan, or we feel dread. We favor our idea of what could be in the future, great, 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 or we fear it, or we're worried about it. It's the fearing, it's the opposing and the favoring generates the feeling. Right? Now, if you don't favor or oppose, there's a possibility for that whole dimension to disappear. And you realize, well, the future, we don't know. The past, any number of things you could think about in the past, any number of things you could think about in the future, but why bother? Because, it's all just construction. And why do we do that? Or why does the mind do that? Because it seeks to become. It seeks to become a historical person. I was this. Because I was this, I'm this. And because I am this, I'll be that. And that, now I know where I am. I was this, messed up. So therefore I'm like this. And therefore I suppose I'll be like that. On a bad day, it's like that, right? So that sense of becoming gives us a continuity based upon fundamentally a feeling and a perception. This is a bad habit. It's rather like, but that's where it goes. If there isn't that supervision. It's rather like, you have a valley. In the middle of the valley is a stream, a waterfall. A stream and a waterfall goes down to a pool. Now, if you run down into the stream, you're going to go into the stream, over the waterfall, into the pool. If you fall over and roll down the hill into the stream, you're going to go down the waterfall into the pool. So whether you fall over by accident into that stream or decide you want to go into that stream, you're still going to go over the waterfall into the pool. So it is that even with things that you don't like, if you fall into them, falling into nobody seeks unpleasant feeling, but we tumble into it, we go into the pool of becoming. Pleasant feeling, we jump into it, we go into the pool of becoming. Right? That only goes that way. Now, does this mean one can't feel anything? This is not possible. But once one has seen through mindfulness and wisdom that that's where that stream goes, you can walk beside the stream. Because actually beside the stream is a lot more stable than in it. And your intention then is not to go into the feeling, and the feeling is there, agreeable or disagreeable, but to maintain appropriate direction. Therefore, your interest is changed. Your desire is changed. Desire here, chanda, is not the same as tanha. Tanha is a pathological reflex of craving and thirst. Chanda can be associated with unskillful ignorance, or it could be associated, it can be a spiritual faculty. Through mindfulness and through wisdom, you train your chanda gets trained, your desire then is for, wait a minute, I think I'll stay with clear intention rather than focus on the feeling. I'll do what's appropriate. And sometimes what's appropriate isn't really that agreeable. Like, I've got to have a conversation with somebody about something rather difficult. Okay, yeah. Well, it's the appropriate thing to do. I have to confess that I've made a mistake. It doesn't make me look good, but to be honest, not pleasant, but I'll do it. So when one's intention is focused on appropriate conduct, behavior in accordance with virtue, integrity, goodwill, serving others, welfare of others, living in accordance with Dhamma, you set your intention there, and sometimes it's associated with disagreeable feeling. And sometimes it's associated with agreeable feeling. But that isn't really the point. The point is to have the clarity of intention. And because you don't go into the stream, you don't have to go into the pool of becoming it. Now, that's the analogy, what this works out as is when your intention is on skillful conduct, and you're not looking for the praise or the success, or this means everything's finished, I did a really good job and so forth. You may have done a good job, but that wasn't, you're not really focusing on it, you're just doing your practice. What occurs is you can act without going into becoming the actor, because you're not the actor. The mind does this. The mind acts, skillful conduct, skillful intention acts. Who is that? So we cultivate and we act without seeking a result. It's a pretty fine balance. But this is where wisdom comes in, because you certainly learn if you're aiming, if you want to have that feeling, that sense of you've succeeded and everybody's happy, you're going to be disappointed. Whatever you do, somebody's not going to be so happy with it, or it's going to be, there could be a better way of doing it, whatever you do. Even the Buddha himself, he was a master. Still, people disliked him intensely. His own cousin tried to kill him 7 times, so he didn't, even he didn't get success rates all the time. But succeed or fail, you act with right intention. This takes you out of the pool of becoming. In this way, Dhammas, qualities, skillful qualities, are allowed to come, arise, crystallize, pass. And there's a certain stability about that, about where you're standing. Because there's no strain in that, it's stable. You're not going into that current, there's a stability in it. And that stability, as you get interested in that, because that feels like this feels more balanced. It's not got that powerful surge, but it's got a cool, steady, balanced quality to it. That, I'm interested in that. So this is the liberation from becoming. And the liberation from becoming, the ending of the outflow of becoming, is a touch of the deathless element, because it's stable, it doesn't come and go, it's stable territory. And in this, the asava, the corruptions, the biases, this inclination we have to tumble into the flood of feeling, that is unbound. This is nibbana, the unbinding of this tangle of perception, feeling, formations, self, becoming, and so on. So this is one way, anyway. There's maybe other ways of looking at this particular teaching, but this is how it seems to me to make sense. So, you look and you can see how one wants to do a good job. Is that bad? No, it means set your intention on, being skillful. Whatever you do, it won't be perfect. It will pass. There'll be somebody doing it better. Somebody won't always enjoy it. You can find fault with it. Whenever I do anything. If I look back at it, my mind can see, oh, that wasn't so good. I could have done that. Often don't. Certainly don't read my own books. Not because I dislike them. I'm not interested in them. I've done my work. I'm not particularly looking to form a critique of it. It's done. Um, I did what I could. And so, because what's more important is to do one's practice and let the results speak for themselves. You don't have to claim them. Because the ground is more stable, the ground is steadier, and you don't fall into that stream. You consider just how much one's searching for the future, thinking, what should I do? What could I be? What will I be? Will I be? Will I ever be? How can I be? And what is that about? Unpleasant feeling. Unpleasant feeling of not being able to become something. But if we can handle that and trace it back to this sense of trying to create a person in the future and the fundamental unpleasant feeling that's occurring that's bringing that up, then you've got a chance to stabilize attention around that, resolve the pressure of becoming and craving, the craving for identity, the craving for solidity. We take solidity to be the result of becoming, but becoming is not solid. Nobody ever becomes anything solid. You just become more becoming. If we take the movement into becoming as our place we're going to find solidity, it's constantly anxious. The place of stability is to step out of becoming. This is intention, this is feeling, this is perception, this is skillful. This is where it ends. This is where actions, intentions end. And of course, what's appropriate in terms of actions? Most of us are going to find also the quality of intention has to be that which is not too hard, not too pushed, not pushed forward, not hanging back, not slack, not tense, just a comfortable, steady intentionality in what we do. And this means we stay on stable ground, which is the deathless is the only stable ground there is. So, thought for today, and perhaps for many days. It's a pretty wonderful teaching, Buddha's teaching, so we can reflect upon it and take pieces that have crystallized in our minds and work on them. I hope something's come out of that for you this evening. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Hanmayanda Makataya Sadhu Karanda Dhamma Se Sadhu 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 Anumodami.
So hope the life continues to unfold in a skillful direction, and you can stay aligned to the teachings and the practice for your welfare and happiness. So I'll close the session. Some view it may be morning, afternoon. For me, it's good night. And we'll finish with the closing homage. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Vivati. Swakando Bhagavatna Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Patipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangha